5 o'clock, and boy, tremendous attendance here at the Public Works Committee tonight. Thank you all. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The June 20th meeting of the Public Works Committee, which is on a Thursday night, and after this we'll be going back to Tuesday nights.
That's correct.
As per the regular schedule. I'm Paul Bergdorf, I'm the chair of the committee, and why don't we go around the room and everybody introduce yourselves and what district you're from.
I'm John Frenier from the 17th District.
Pete Tunney from the 22nd.
Chris Smith, the 39th, Hilltowns.
Merton Simpson, 2nd District.
Charlie Tal, 30th, Gilderland.
Joe O'Brien, the 25th, which is West Albany and Loudonville.
Paul Miller, 32nd District, Gilderland.
Okay, and I'm Paul Bergdorf from Latham and Loudonville. First order of business is we have the minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to review them? And does anybody have any suggested edits or corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The minutes are approved. Okay, Mr. Belber from the Times Union Center has 3 items on the agenda, and then they did bring some financial statements tonight. If you want to take us through them quickly, we can do that because I don't think our agenda is too lengthy.
Okay.
So the first one is authorizing a lease agreement with,
I'd like to make a motion, we group 1, 2, and 3 together.
there's a motion to,
Group 1 and 2.
because they have different amounts?
Number 3 has different things.
Okay, let's do one and two.
Okay.
Let's group 1 and 2 together.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So it's 1 and 2. These are 2 lease agreements with the United Group of Companies, Gerben and Filazzo, and FBI Mechanical, and Bank of America for suites number 12 and 16. Mr. Belber?
Correct. These are renewal suites. They have the increase effective September 1, as the other suite renewals that we had in the past months recently were also approved. And so these are good suite holders that are current on their payments, and it's a renewal for another 3-year term based on the $51,000 per year for a 3-year commitment.
So there's no escalator over the 3-year period, it's 51.
Right, it's an increase from the prior 48.5 that we had.
Okay. Any questions, members of the committee? Not, I'm entertaining the motion. Moved by Mr. Frenier, seconded by Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Matter is passed. All right, now number 3 is just a tad bit different. This is a lease agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Northeastern New York for corporate suite number 20. Bob?
Yep, so this is a current suite holder that's been a suite holder for several years, many years actually, but their company is not able to do more than a 1-year contract. This is the only one that we have, only suite holder that we have in the building that has a 1-year contract. And if for any reason they were to leave, we would obviously want to try to go with a company that would stay on a 3-year cycle like the rest of them. But given the fact that they've been a good tenant, they've paid their bills with no problems, they're a good company in the community, I would ask that we approve on an annual basis the way we have previously.
So, excuse me, why is this one coming up later than the others?
This one actually has an effective date of March 15th of this year. This is one that was sent over, but it was one that kind of fell through the cracks. So it was intended to be on the agenda earlier, but between January and, I want to say, April, there were no meetings.
Okay.
And that's why it got slipped through and didn't get on the most recent meetings, and why we asked to have it be put on this one.
So this was due to be acted upon in the beginning of the year, which is why it has a different price differential.
Correct, yeah. The increase didn't actually take effect until the lease is effective as of September 1. this year. So the effective date of this is actually in March of 2019, and therefore it's prior to the effective date.
Okay. Members of the committee, any questions,
I just have
concerns?
a random one. Is there any vacant suites?
No, they're all leased. They actually have all been leased for the last 15 years.
So there's like a waiting list or something?
There is a waiting list. There's about 22 companies on the waiting list.
Wow. That's good.
Some would
we-
say you're not charging enough.
I can remember a day, and you remember because you were on the committee, where we couldn't lease all the suites.
Elasticity of demand.
Yeah.
So,
I'll make a motion.
made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Miller. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, the matter is carried. Okay. I guess the number 4, we're going to do the financial statements. Okay. Why don't you take us through them, Bob?
Okay, so I apologize for the delay in getting this to you. It actually is consistent with each of the months prior. Around the 20th or so, we usually try to get these out. And because of the meeting being changed from the 25th to the 20th tonight, you just got these financials today. So this is through the period ended in May. But I'm happy to say that the net profit to the county's bottom line through the month of May, year-to-date, is $1,649,970 compared to the budgeted net profit of $726,129. So we're more than double what the budget called for. It's just a terrific year. There's been a lot of sellout concerts and a lot of successful events in the first half of the year. And this could be one of our best years in the history of the building.
Given your projections for the second half and what you have booked, do you anticipate this robust revenue stream to continue?
I think what we have for the rest of the year is consistent with what we normally would have on our budget. So I think the $1.6 million is probably going to stay consistent. Although I do think it's going to probably go up a bit. You'll probably see it go somewhere around $1.8 million to $1.9 million by the time we're done for the year. And I think our best year was $2 million in the year 2000. So it's going to be real close, and hopefully it exceeds it, but it'll be probably the second best or thereabouts as far as financial success.
All right. Members of the committee, any questions? If not, we don't have any more business. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Great job. All right, number 4, Mr. Rogers.
Good evening.
From the Executive's Office. Agenda item number 4, authorizing an agreement with the New York Power Authority to proceed with preliminary steps regarding photovoltaic systems in Albany County.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. This and the next item are both authorizations to proceed with the New York Power Authority. This first one is, so just to be clear, they're separate projects, but they just both happen to be with the Power Authority. This first one is to proceed with the design and procure, or RFP process for up to 6 sites for solar throughout the county. The sites are all listed on here, but just to go through a few, you have the Albany County DPW, Cornell Cooperative Extension, the Sheriff's Clarksville Station, and the radar tower site that's proximate to the nursing home and the airport. I think this is a good opportunity. We've been working on, moving the county towards some solar for a while, and I think NYPA is a proven partner in this and has good expertise to help us move in that direction. So happy to answer any questions you may have, or members of the committee may have.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Can you kind of describe what we're going to be installing? Our ground installations, roof installations?
So it varies by site. Obviously at the radar tower site, which is just how we'll refer to it if that works for everybody, it would be ground mount. Cornell, also ground mount. The TPW, depending on site analysis, has the potential to be both rooftop and ground mount, depending on what's in it. There is a septic system somewhere there, but depending on, you know, how much room that's taking up. The health complex, mental health complex, potentially would be rooftop. The Clarksville would be rooftop, and the sheriff's would be, I believe he's looking to do carports on the parking lot area there, but might be open to other potential, just because carports tend to be slightly more expensive, although their cost is coming down. So it varies.
The reason I ask is because some people who were sort of interested in whether we were buying the solar equipment and whether they would, or are we leasing it?
It'd be this, because of the scale of the project and just from an economics perspective, would be a power purchase agreement. So it would be, you know, the capital cost is taken on by the developer, which is advantageous because they're able to access tax credits that obviously as a county we're not able to access, but also just because of the scale of this project. Once you get to the size that we're talking about here, where you're in the 3 to 4 megawatt range, it's PPAs are really the only way economically to go, I
So
think.
we're not actually going to own this equipment. We're actually going to having a beneficial lease. Who's responsible for the maintenance of the equipment?
Under a power purchase agreement, the developer is responsible for the maintenance.
Okay, so annual cleaning, if it has to be
Correct.
taken up, if it needs to be repaired, et
Right.
cetera.
Right.
And at the end of the useful life, there are people who have said that some of this equipment is difficult. There are questionable components that are difficult to landfill, recycle, et cetera. Whose responsibility does that become at the end? Is that?
So you have two options. I think at like the 20-year mark, if the county deemed it advantageous to purchase, they could. But the PPAs typically include a decommissioning clause and a decommissioning bond where the developer is putting money into it and has that money aside for the eventual decommissioning when you get to that. But that's sort of industry practice at this point.
Okay,
So-
well, those were the questions I had. Any members of the committee? No questions, concerns?
You have to go with every one of these in order to,
No, obviously, you know.
sheriff station one just doesn't seem like it's even worth it.
It depends, you know, they've got their, I believe, and it's not my area of expertise, but I believe they're doing some work out there that will allow them to do rooftop, but also they proposed other building out there. I don't want to speak for
A new
sheriff's
shop.
projects, but that could also potentially have roof. So the way, you can look at it a few different ways. We could develop all 6. When we move forward with this, in addition to an engineering analysis and bids, there'll be a cost analysis that they'll look at and bid on each project individually, but also the projects as a portfolio. So we'll be able to go with, here are the 5 out of 6 that make financial sense, here are the 6 out of 6, or here are the 4 out of 6, you know, depending on, and we'll have that flexibility to do what makes economic sense for the county. Also, just to add, if it's a portfolio, you might be able to say include that one that's right on the edge of being economically feasible because of the economies of scale it brings it, whereas a package, it's financially advantageous, but that will obviously be determined as we start to get bids back.
Just out of curiosity, Frank.
No,
Question. What if during the term of the agreement, we need a new roof on a building on these rooftops?
Yeah, so that would be a consideration for the ones that we're looking at rooftops. They're gonna look at everything, life of rooftop, current condition, current use. So you pay attention to that. You're not gonna put solar on a roof that is clearly, is gonna need to be replaced in the next 5 years. Now, do things happen?
I mean, you're talking 20 years,
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
Most commercial roofs don't hold up 20 years.
right.
Lucas, are we anywhere close enough in the feasibility stage where we have some round numbers that says these 5 or 6 projects are gonna cost a capitalized cost of X, which a developer is gonna pick up, and what a revenue stream or a power generation could be? Can you
Power
define either kilowatt hours or financial savings to the county that this would generate, avoided, electric bills? Whatever?
So it is a little early, to be perfectly honest. You're talking, it's on here somewhere, about, this is an old copy, about 3.6 megawatts is the full potential. The way, you look at it 2 different ways. For the behind the meter, you're looking at, is this project and the cost to produce power at this site cheaper than what you'd be paying the utility? For the in front of the meter, so your bigger sites like the radar tower, you're looking at, is the credit that we are getting for, so it used to be remote net metering, and you would just get paid that remote net metering amount. Now the state has switched, and the PSC has switched the whole framework to something called value of distributed energy resources, or the value stack. So the economics equation you're gonna look at is basically, is the credit that we're getting from VDER, value distributed energy resources, greater than the cost of the PPA that we're paying the developer, because they're taking on the capital cost. As far as a top line amount, it's just too early, I think. I could ask, the Power Authority to try and use their expertise to guess, but, we'll.
But I mean, it's not gonna end up costing us money.
We will only move forward, I would think, we would only choose the projects and move forward when they're cash flow positive. So that's when we get the bids, we'll be able to evaluate the cash flow of each project, but also the portfolio. So, like I said, you might have, this one is extremely economically beneficial, this one is right on that line. As a package, it kind of averages out, or, but you will be looking at each project, each site, and evaluating the cash flow of that site based on either behind the meter or in front of the meter, kind of the formula I just explained, evaluate and then decide.
Going to Frank's point, and I think that's sort of what I was getting at in sort of an earlier question, because people have told me there's maintenance underneath these things, that sometimes you have to take them up, you have to clean the roof underneath it, that sort of thing. Are you going to be able to negotiate individual contracts for individual sites and projects? So if you have a flat roof situation somewhere where there may be more maintenance, you can make sure we're protecting the county's interests in not having to, have an expanded maintenance cost.
So certainly can get you more information on that. I know there are, plenty of industry standards for the rooftop solar, it's not new. But the developer, again, would be responsible for any of that, either ground maintenance if it's a ground site, or maintenance of the array if it's a rooftop. In terms of the roof, I can get back to you and look into that a little bit.
I think it's a legitimate concern to say if you put something on in 20 years and in 10 years you develop a roof leak, is that our responsibility to take everything up, redo the roof, whatever, or is it, it strikes me that there should be some language that apportions liability in a contract.
Yeah, I'm not gonna guess off the top. I know there is, but I'll get back to you on that.
Joe?
Yeah, Who's going to guarantee when you do these penetrations for the solar panels, mounting the solar panels? Who's going to, guarantee any leakage around those supports? Is the roofer coming back to seal around them, or what's the guarantee on that roof now? It's affected, usually these rubber roofs,
Right.
the rubber roofs, there's a guarantee, and they come back every year to maintain it
Right.
and look at it. Who's going to be responsible for that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a direct answer, but I'm happy to get it for you.
You can ask
probably
about that to more detail.
tomorrow. I mean, it's not.
And a
I don't-
lot of the roofs now are going a green roof, which is a white roof, rather than the black roof because of the
Yeah.
heating
Yeah.
element on that.
Again, I think it's an easy answer to get. I just don't want to
Okay.
put something out there. So, happy to follow up with you on that. But, all I can say is our engineers, the experts at NYPA and whatever developer, will look at each roof on a case-by-case basis. If it's not viable from, there's the cost component we just spoke about, but there's also the engineering component.
And what about the structural integrity of the roof? Is it strong enough?
Right,
to-
and that's where not only will the developer and their engineers look at that, but our DGS,
You gotta have a structural analysis of it.
Mhm.
You
That's
don't
all-
wanna you don't wanna put it on and all of a sudden the roof collapses.
No,
and you're
but I mean, again, without sounding cavalier, you've got millions of rooftop projects throughout, like, there is an answer, I just want to get you,
Okay. Well, some of our buildings are quite old.
Yes,
and
yeah,
they're-
absolutely.
Yeah, is it FAA okay with this?
We're gonna work with them on it, we're obviously not committed to anything at this point, but we've been having ongoing dialogue to, the point about solar near the airport, you do have to do a glare analysis, which is pretty standard practice. That being said, I know the airport is adding solar on their premises, so, I mean,
Well, that's my next question. We have a lease with the authority. Are we going into their land and putting,
no, this is,
where's the radar tower?
it's the county it's 925 Waterville Shaker Road.
And that's not the airport's?
No, FAA leases from us for that radar tower. Yeah, exactly. In some ways, it's an ideal property for solar because you're limited in your other development opportunities there because of the radar tower and height restrictions. So that's kind of why, and it's a big plot, so that's what makes it an appealing, in addition to being very close to the interconnection. It's an appealing location.
All right, any other questions, concerns, comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. Made by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Miller. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion is carried. Okay, number 5. Authorizing an agreement with New York Power Authority regarding design and construction plans for the street light installation project.
All right, this is also with the New York Power Authority. They have positioned themselves as a leading facilitator of these streetlight projects. In fact, most of the municipalities within the county are working with them and are at some stage of this. This is this is sort of unique for the county because usually we're relative to our municipalities the big player on the block. In this case, we're the small. We have 97 streetlights, but we still can generate significant savings and environmental benefits from purchasing and transitioning those streetlights from their current state to LEDs. So again, similar to the previous item, this is the authorization to proceed, which will lead to the detailed design and engineering and bid phase, at which point we'll have a more exact cost, but currently we have a pretty good understanding because the purchase price is regulated by the PSC, so there's not a whole lot of flexibility or sensitivity there. So you're looking at a 6 to 7 year payback, and then, but it's because of the savings, cash flow positive in year one, about $3,700, and yeah, happy to answer any questions.
I got just a couple of questions. I'll give them to you both. First one, could you just give us a sense where the streetlights are?
Yes.
That's number one.
What's that? I thought there was a list in here, but they're kind of spread around. There's definitely a little clump in sort of the nursing home and Lee area. I know there are some out by DPW Voorheesville and along some county roads out there. And then I think the third sort of grouping is I believe it's out sort of by SUNY Poly. So part of this process will be, we know we have the 97, we know where they are generally, but we'll map them specifically and then have that data, which will be great, you know, for easier access. Now we can certainly pull that together, but this, as part of this process, we'll have it and potentially be able to have it GIS. But also, if you use the SMART technology, we will get sort of live indicators of not only where they are, but how they're doing. And, you know, if something were to go down, we'd have get a notification, be able to get maintenance out there to fix it, so.
My second question sort of was along that line. Most of us, if I'm gonna put in a LED bulb at my house, I go and I screw the existing bulb out and I screw an LED bulb in. Are we talking about changing entire light poles or just fixtures or control devices or?
It's a good question. So they do differ. So you can walk down the street and see different types. You know, the city has some streets with fancy ones and some that are just plain old. We probably have a little bit of variety, but generally speaking, the poles will be fine and stay. It will be the sort of the head and the fixture in most cases that would be converted, or in some cases potentially just the actual fixture. So that's what this design phase will really lay out, is for each one exactly what is needed. Maybe we'll identify one where we actually do need a pole because it's deteriorated over time, and you know there's a risk of it just from evaluation we can tell. But for the most cases it'll be that, you know, the head and fixture.
No questions. Anybody on the committee? Any questions?
No.
Concerns?
I'll make a motion to vote.
Moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Tunney. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Carried. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Commissioner Raimondo.
Hi.
Good evening. Number 6, authorizing an agreement with Stilsing Electric Incorporated regarding traffic light installation on Albany Shaker Road.
Yes, we're asking for approval to enter into an agreement with Stilsing Electric for the installation of the traffic signal at Albany Shaker Road and Shaker L. Stilsing was the lowest responsive bidder. The second bidder, DLC, came in at approximately $20,000 more than Stilsing. And as you know, this project was recommended in the Albany Shaker Road corridor study, and it will improve traffic and pedestrian safety at the intersection.
Okay, can you give us a sense of what the timeline for this construction would be?
Yeah, it is our goal to have it installed before the school season starts, and it will be very close. So, yes.
We have an aspirational goal.
That is our goal, yes.
Okay. And I know there was a land transfer that's going to, I think, audit and finance. Can you give us a status on that? Because I know it's an important piece that goes with this.
Yes, so the appraisal has been completed, and it was valued at $2,000. The land is necessary because that's where the pole is going to be placed, and it's Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, located right at the intersection.
I know Mr. Angelo went out and met with the reverend and head of the parish council, and they have recommended sale of the parcel.
Yes.
So we are, so assuming that we're all good to go with that little tiny chunk of land.
Yes, .014 acres.
Great. Any questions, concerns?
No, I just want to say I'm happy finally we're getting that light. I know Paul and I have worked
3 years?
feverishly to get this thing done, and it's certainly a safety issue for the children walking across Albany Shaker Road to the school, so thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that, and having that be part of a smart intersection too, with actual working pedestrian controls is going to be fantastic. The only comment I get, and I say in time all good things will come, is I want to make sure you do a really good job synchronizing those lights with the other lights in the area, so that we keep Shaker Road moving to the best of our ability.
That's actually part of the project, is to synchronize that with the two lights on either side, so,
Good.
Good to hear.
yep.
So, is there a mover? Moved by Mr. O'Brien, second by Mr. Tani. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is carried. Thank you very much, Commissioner. And let's see, the last item, number 7, authorizing an agreement with Reifenberg Contracting Corp. regarding the potable water and sanitary waste removal project at Lawson Lake.
Yes, so this is the project whereby we'll be delivering water and waste removal to Lawson Lake. Reifenberg was the lowest responsive bidder. We had 2 others. Their bid came in at $654,000. That being said, we have about $623,500 in bond money to spend on this project. And in an effort to keep it moving forward, I, along with MJ Engineering, worked with Reifenberg to do some value engineering, and we were able to lower the cost by approximately $30,955 by having our own forces do the paving portion of the job, as well as saving on directional drilling, putting 2 conduits in 1 borehole. So that being said, we're requesting approval.
Okay, and obviously the county attorney is fine with a bid being at the higher number, but us awarding a lower number and the credits for owner's work taken.
Yes, we looked into it, and we made sure that even taking out the pieces of work that we were suggesting here, we made sure that Reifenberg was still the lowest responsive bidder when we pulled those pieces out of the other bids. So.
Okay, great. One last question. Where's the water coming from, and where's the effluent going?
Good, okay. So there is an existing well at Lawson Lake, and it's being refurbished, and a pump house is being constructed, and the equipment for purifying the water is going to be housed in the pump house. And the effluent is going to be stored in a holding tank, which will be required to be pumped out periodically. We're not sure how often yet. It remains to be seen.
So there's no on-site distribution of the effluent? It's a holding tank situation?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Those are my questions. Any members of the committee, any questions, suggestions, concerns? If not, we'd entertain a motion. Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Mr. Cal. Please call the roll, or signify your vote in the affirmative by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm just going to have to abstain on that.
Okay. Please note Mr. O'Brien's abstention. The matter is passed. Thank you very much, Commissioner. That is all the business that the Public Works Committee has before us. May I have a motion for adjournment? Moved by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Miller. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.